Hey, so here's part 2. What I forgot to mention in part 1 was that before the doctor broke my water, like, right before, they had been pretty much holding me down at that point because I was trying to get up. I wanted to move up, I wanted to be active, but they weren't allowing me to. And yet they said that because I was laying on my back like that, that it was restricting my breathing, so instead of allowing me to stand up, what they did was they put an oxygen mask on me, which for some reason it made it harder for me to breathe. Zachary. Oh. Anyway, for some reason the oxygen mask made it more difficult for me to breathe, so they kept putting it on, and I kept taking it back off and yelling, "I can't breathe." But they said, instead of connecting that to the fact that I had the oxygen mask on, they said, "I know, that's why we're putting the mask on you." And then they put it on my face and they held it there. So at that point, that's when I fell asleep, and then the doctor broke my water. So, anyway, what happened after that was that they pulled that whole fetal distress thing, and there were a couple other risk factors that I'd rather not discuss on here. But that's when they decided to bring me in for the C-section. I never signed a consent form. I don't think anybody else signed one. And when I brought that up to the nurse later, after the fact, she said, "Oh, everybody signs a consent form when they start their prenatal care." And I thought that was a little weird, because since when does a first-time mother sign a C-section consent form when she starts her prenatal care? But, anyway, that's beside the point. I came in for the C-section, and they had me there. What they do is they have you lean into a pillow and lean forward so that they can stick the needle into your spine, and they stuck it in my spine 4 times. But I am severely needle phobic. I hate needles. I can't stand them. So, like, I was in the middle of a back labor contraction while the anesthesiologist was trying to put the needle in my back, and so I was trying to keep myself calm, but I was cringing at the same time. And I guess I must have wiggled or something, because he said, "Stop moving." And so I yelled back, "I'm fucking trying." And, like, then I felt his hands come off my back, and he said, "Did you just yell at me? You know I have your needle, right?" And at that point I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. Like, I was leaning into the pillow, and there was a nurse standing, like, right in front of me, and she tried to walk away. But I guess in my panicked state, I reacted, and I grabbed onto her, and I wouldn't let the nurse go. And so, after the 4th jab into my spine, I finally my legs started, like, becoming warm. And they said, "Alright, it's taking in, you need to lay down." And I wasn't laying down fast enough, so they're like, "Hurry, hurry, hurry, lay down." So, while half my body is numb, I'm attempting to swing my legs up onto a bed, or a tray. 1 second. Oh, you're okay. You're okay. Whoa. So, they were doing that, and they got me up onto the bed, and they started the surgery. Sky wasn't allowed in the room during this time. He was out in the other room scrubbing up. How much time do I have? Yeah, I still got some time. He was in the other room scrubbing up while they started, and I was scared. It felt like forever. It felt like hours until he was finally allowed in there. And they let him in, and he was standing. I was laying here, and he was standing on this side of me, and just being there for me. And I could see the scared expression in his face. He didn't know what to do. And then the next thing I know, I feel like a pressure, like a release pressure, which is when they took Eragon out of my abdomen. And they said that he was born. They cut the cord. Zachary. They cut the cord and they wiped him off and wrapped him up in a blanket and handed him to Sky. This guy brought him over to me, and I got to see him for a little bit, but then they had to bring him back into the NICU. So, because he was born at technically exactly 37 weeks, so he was still early. Not medically considered premature, but I think he was premature. So they brought him back for that, and he ended up staying in the NICU for 5 days, and due to underdeveloped lungs and immature nervous system and jaundice. And honestly, the only positive thing I can even remember about the whole experience was one single NICU nurse. I believe her name was Jill, maybe Jillian, something along those lines, but she was absolutely wonderful. She was so supportive with everything, gave proper information, came in and checked on me when I was nursing him in the NICU, and I couldn't have asked for a more helpful nurse. And she, in all of the things that happened, she's the one person that stuck in my mind as a positive experience. Like, aside from, obviously, Eragon being born. But if I would have done so much differently. If I could go back, I would have not gone to the hospital immediately. Because I believe that is what initially killed it for me. But maybe since they gave me a catheter early on, they were just planning on doing a C-section anyway. Since it was about 5 in the morning and it was still decent weather out, but starting to get a bit cold, so I don't know, maybe the doctor didn't want to be late for his golf game the next day or something. Anyway, that's Eragon's birth story.